Hi, I'm Ty, and I'm on a mission to grow as much as I can here at PDX Garden Home, a half-acre urban garden in Portland, Oregon, Zone 8B. I pursue this goal to donate harvest to food pantries, and really just for the love of gardening. Come along, let me show you what I've been up to this week. Here it is, a new tool.
Removing T-posts can be a challenging task, especially if the posts have been in the ground for a long time. I have several that have been in the ground for about 4 years, and they're buried about 3 feet deep here. I tried to pull these posts out by digging around them or using a 2x4 lodged against it while I pulled on it for leverage. I could see how that might work, but I lost patience and decided to get the official tool, a real T-post puller. After all, I've used T-post for a variety of applications in the garden. With the right tools, a T-post driver, which I already had, and now a T-post puller, I'll be using T-posts more readily. I love seed starting. It's my favorite part of the garden, really. I know it sounds strange, but right now, planting seeds, I feel the potential of what all this will be in the coming year. And while I appreciate truly getting joy from the beauty of the garden as everything blooms and comes to fruition, it's just kind of like the natural outcome of this whole process. It's really this process that I enjoy, and it all starts here with the seed starting. Some of the benefits of growing your own seed include the cost. Once you get over the hump of the upfront infrastructure costs for things like racks, lights and trays, starting seeds can be more cost effective in growing many plants at scale than buying established plants from the nursery. Also, selection. Starting seeds allows me to choose from a wide variety of different kinds of plants, many of which wouldn't be available in the nursery that only has room for what you might think of as the standards. Control. When you start seeds, I have more control over the growing conditions, and it gives my plants the best possible start. Learning. Starting seeds is like an experimental process for me. Every garden can be different, and in my garden, the seed starting process allows me to learn what works and what often doesn't work, and it's fun. That's one of the reasons I like to garden. And finally, just the general joy and satisfaction. I find a sense of accomplishment in starting seeds and watching the plants grow to maturity during the season. At this stage, the beginning of January, my seed starting setup is ready to go. I don't have all the racks and lights set up yet, but I have enough for the trays that'll be starting this month, and then I'll get the rest of the racks going as needed when we progress throughout the seed starting season. I've learned over the years that it's worth investing the extra cash for more sturdy trays. Many of these are from Bootstrap Farmer. I've gone through many thinner trays that get tears in the sides or just holes in the bottom after 1 or 2 years of usage. I really like these sturdier trays. For the planting trays, I mostly use these 6-cell trays. They're plastic, but I get a lot of reuse out of them. Occasionally I use 3-inch pots. I've tried sowing in trays with potting soil just in the tray without the 6 cells, and then pricking out, something you see a lot in UK gardening. It saves space initially, but I don't feel like I need to save that kind of space, and the pricking out to cell trays just feels like a whole nother additional step for me.
Hi, well, I wanted to talk real quick about fava beans and what I do because I never remember to plant them in the ground on time. Most people, or a lot of people I should say, will plant fava beans in the ground in the fall. Sometimes as a cover crop, but sometimes with the intent that they will grow over winter and then be ready for an early spring crop. What I never remember to get mine in the ground in the fall, and usually like fall is so busy because it's like the tail end of the harvest season and I'm cleaning up the garden and I can barely have time to get my garlic and tulips in the ground if you've seen my other videos. So what I do is I have done this for a couple of years now and it's worked just fine. I use the warmth of my basement nursery, which is about 65 to 70 degrees, to germinate the fava beans and get the plants going pretty strong. And then I just put them in the ground like plant starts. And I get fava beans ready to harvest by June, which is about the time normally they would be ready to harvest if you had put them in the ground and overwintered them the normal way. Yeah, maybe I'm a few weeks later, but that's okay. I won't notice those few weeks.
Man, I love growing onions and shallots. I grow bunching onions, sometimes referred to as scallions, but I particularly like growing bulb onions. I've had good success with growing Red Bull for a red onion and Walla Walla for a sweet yellow onion. These are both types of long day onions. Long day onions refers to the length of daylight they need to form bulbs. Long day onions require 14 to 16 hours of daylight to form the bulbs, while short day onions would only require 10 to 12 hours of daylight and probably wouldn't do as well if they were getting more daylight. In general, long day onions are suited for our climate in the Pacific Northwest. They're typically larger and more pungent than the short day onions, and they're well suited for storage. Aside from Walla Walla and Red Bull, this season I'm also growing Utah Spanish. It's another long day variety. Onions have been a relatively carefree crop for me, although it has a long growing period. You could start from sets or bulbs, but I found that I'm way more successful getting to a nice sized bulb without it bolting when I start from seed. And seed starting is one of my favorite activities here. These are some of the first seeds I start for the year in my basement nursery. Walla Walla onions are a sweet, mild variety of onion that is well suited for us here in Portland. I'm planting these 10 to 12 weeks before my last frost. I expect it'll be 7 to 8 months before I can harvest, which is usually around August for me. Once the seedlings are large enough to handle, I'll transplant them into the ground. I got my Walla Walla onion seeds from Botanical Interests. Red Bull onions are a type of red onion. I've appreciated its large size, sweet flavor, and its attractive appearance in the garden. I grow them on the same schedule as I do the Walla Wallas. I plant the seeds now in January with an expectation that I'll be able to harvest in August. Utah Spanish onions are a type of yellow onion that is also known for its sweet, mild flavor and large size. I haven't grown it before, so I wanted to see how it grows compared to the Walla Walla. I'm growing these on the same schedule as the Walla Walla and the Red Bull onions.
Red bunching onions. I like to grow these as my scallions or my green onions. They're tasty. I like them.
Similar to onions, I prefer to grow shallots from seeds rather than from bulbs or sets. However, I just read recently advice that when you're harvesting shallots, go ahead and leave some of the bulbs in the ground to produce new offsets for the following year. This will help ensure a continuous supply of shallots. I haven't done that before, so I might try that at the end of this season. For now, I'm growing shallots this season from seed as I've done in the last few years. Last year I grew ambition shallots, which were roundish with a pink flesh. This year I'm growing Zabroon from Botanical Interest and Davidor from Territorial Seed. Zabroon shallots can take up to 5 months to reach maturity. Same thing with the Davidor. The Davidor shallots are a bit smaller and more slender than the Zabroon shallots, and they have a reddish-brown skin with white flesh. Similar to Zabroon shallots, the Davidor are known for their mild, sweet taste. We have a lot of evergreen trees in and around PDX Garden Home. The windstorm so far this winter has left a mess around the garden. We've put some time into clearing the paths around here and then stacking the branches to either be ready to put into the city compost bins when there's room, or we might put them through the little electric chipper later.